Hello, I'm Brian Painter of the Oklahoman, and today we're joined by Rick Smith of the National Weather Service Norman Forecast Office. Thanks very much for joining us today, Rick.
Good to be here, Brian. Thanks for having me.
You bet. A little earlier today on the NWS chat, I saw the comment that said an important day to emphasize paying attention to later forecasts and outlooks. Why is that?
Well, this is one of those days where we have lots of ingredients in place for severe weather, but how things pan out is still kind of up in the air a little bit. So we're going to be fine-tuning forecasts and outlooks throughout the afternoon. And, lots of times people will catch the weather maybe at lunchtime or maybe in the morning or something, and then they don't pay a lot more attention to it. But there's some days during the spring, lots of days during the spring when we have the threat of severe weather, especially where it's really important to keep up with that weather. If you've got a chance of thunderstorms or a chance of severe weather in the forecast, you need to be checking that forecast fairly often for updates because threat areas may change, risk levels may change. So we just always have to kind of keep up with it and know what's going on at all times.
What are some of the ingredients that you're looking at today?
Well, we've got a lot of moisture. Obviously, we've had a lot of rain recently, and that moisture that's in the ground is kind of in the atmosphere today, so it feels muggy. It's got that humid feel out there, very warm. We've got the strong south winds. We've got a dry line out to our west where storms have already started to form here in mid-afternoon, and so it's a classic, kind of a classic Oklahoma severe weather setup that we see quite often during an average spring around here.
I noticed you have a tornado watch until 9 o'clock. Mostly western Oklahoma, but coming up to the western sides of the metro Canadian Kingfisher counties?
Yeah, that tornado watch does get into Kingfisher, Canadian, Grady County. Doesn't quite get into Oklahoma City proper, but we always say those lines of the watches and outlooks, those have very fuzzy edges on them, and we always talk about persons in and close to the watch area. So certainly people in Oklahoma City and Norman and Moore and Newcastle and Blanchard, even if you're not technically in the watch itself right now, you need to pay attention because it's coming our way and the potential's there for severe weather maybe later this evening, and there could be more watches issued at some point. So that's just because you're not in it right now doesn't mean that you don't have any risk later on today.
For the Oklahoma City metro, do you have kind of a general timeline that we might see some storms?
Well, we've got stuff here at mid-afternoon not too far away, so it's conceivable we could see something in here by the afternoon rush hour. We're hoping it'll hold off until after that, maybe after 6 o'clock, but we could see storms in here by 4:30 or 5 o'clock at the rate we're going right now.
Are you looking at large hail as one of your threats?
Large hail is one of the biggest threats. These storms that we're expecting to develop later today are going to be supercells. These are rotating storms, and those are the storms that have the highest chances of producing big hail. And big hail, we're talking about bigger than golf balls, maybe tennis balls or baseballs. So certainly you don't want to be out in your vehicle in that if that's going on. So that's why we were also encouraging people today to check the weather before you leave work. Be it, check the radar, see where those storms are. You don't want to go barreling down the highway or the interstate and come face to face with one of these baseball-sized hailstorms. So it's just a day to pay attention and don't get on the road and don't go traveling or doing anything before you know what's between you and your destination.
Very good. If you would, kind of in conclusion, take us forward Thursday into Saturday.
Well, we're in a busy period of severe weather. It seems like it's been a while since we've had one of these types of situations, but we're going to have repeated at least risk or threats of severe weather all the way through probably Sunday at least. We're going to have a risk of severe again on Thursday and Friday. Right now, it's looking like Saturday could be our next significant chance of severe weather, but that's still a ways off. We'll be watching that. But there are many opportunities for more severe thunderstorms, and more importantly, more heavy rain and beneficial rain for parts of the area. And we're going to have to watch the flooding threat too, because we've had a lot of rain, and there's some areas that probably can't take much more at this point. Hard to believe, sitting in a drought saying that, but that's what we're facing.
All right. Thank you again for joining us today, and please continue to watch newsok.com for your updates.